Really quick before we start, this video is my first 6 animal videos stitched together into a single hour-long video. I know that some people like myself like listening to videos while they drive or work, and I figured that it'd be nice to those people to have all of them in one place. Let me know in the comments if you like this longer format. If you do, I'll make the longer version after the next 6 animals that I do. That's all I got. Now, on to the video. I've been seeing a lot of channels pop up talking about how to gorilla, or why your life would suck as various animals, all with the exact same thumbnail. And I noticed that most of these videos had a negative tone to them and explained why being the animal in the title of the video would be a bad thing. So today, I wanted to talk to you about the best animal of all time, the honeybee, in a video that I made with the exact same thumbnail as the other ones. Every honeybee's life begins in a tiny hexagonal nursery known as a cell. This is where the queen bee will lay an egg. This egg hatches into a larva, a tiny, wriggly blob that has no idea of what it is destined for. For the first few days, this larva gets fed royal jelly, a substance that is so nutritious it might as well be the bee equivalent of kale smoothies and protein shakes. If the larva is extra lucky and keeps getting fed the royal jelly, it will grow up to become a queen. Talk about being born into privilege. For most larvae, however, the royal jelly buffet ends quickly. Worker bees start feeding them a more pedestrian diet of pollen and nectar, essentially saying, welcome to the middle class. These larvae then pupate, spinning themselves into cocoons where the magic of metamorphosis happens. After about 21 days, a fully formed bee emerges, ready to either rule the hive, work tirelessly, or, if a male, lays around until it is called upon for a brief and fatal mating mission. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and I didn't even say spoiler warning. Let's take a closer look into these 3 distinct roles, starting with Her Highness, the queen bee. Without the queen bee, the whole operation would collapse faster than a poorly made souffle. The queen's job primarily is laying eggs, up to 2,000 a day. While she doesn't punch a time clock, she does keep the hive running smoothly with her pheromones, a sort of scent that she gives off that gives instructions to the hive on what to do and how things are going. Pheromones are basically just bee Wi-Fi. The queen's life isn't all royal jelly and sunshine. Becoming a queen is a cutthroat business. In order to be prepared if something unexpected were to happen to the queen, the hive is in a constant state of having a few queen buns in the oven, or larvae in the cells, I guess is what I mean. Multiple larvae are fed royal jelly and raised as potential candidates. Once they emerge, it's battle royale. Between laying her eggs, the current reigning queen will spend her free time killing these new queens on the block to assure that she will maintain her role without issue. Not exactly democracy. This way of operating is advantageous to the hive because in the event that the queen dies or is too old to win the fight, they don't need to wait for the full 21 days for a larvae to emerge as a new queen. They have a fully baked queen fresh out of the oven and ready to keep things running smoothly immediately. Let's talk about the queen's romantic endeavors. Once in her life, the queen embarks on a flight out of the hive that can only be described as every dad's worst nightmare as his daughter leaves for high school prom. The queen is pursued by a squadron of eager drones from other hives, all vying for a chance to mate. On this single flight, a typical queen bee will mate with anywhere between 10 and 20 drones. Once complete, the queen returns to the hive, storing enough sperm to lay eggs for the rest of her life, which can be up to 5 years. Efficiency at its finest. The queen's reign typically lasts a few years, during which she is the undisputed leader. However, if she starts slacking, laying fewer eggs or producing weaker pheromones, the worker bees may stage a coup. They'll have a new queen ready, and the old one will be retired. It's a tough gig, but hey, that's the life of the hive. If the queen is the hive's monarch and the workers are its tireless labor force, then drones are kind of like your college roommate. These male bees are pretty much worthless and have only one job in the entire world, and that is to mate with a queen. That's it. No gathering nectar, no building comb, no defending the hive. Their entire existence revolves around waiting for a chance to pass on their genes. You might think that sounds like the ultimate freeloading gig, but before you start envying their lifestyle, let's unpack the details. First, drones don't even have stingers, which means they can't defend themselves or the hive. Their lack of survival skills makes them entirely dependent on the worker bees, who feed them and care for them until mating season. When the time comes, drones join a congregation of other hopefuls, a sausage party that is officially known as a drone congregation area. This is where the magic and tragedy happens. The queen flies into the congregation, and the fastest, fittest drones get the honor of mating with her. Unfortunately for the drones, this honor is also their swan song. The act of mating is so intense that it literally causes the drone's abdomen to rupture, and he falls to his death. It's a lot like speed dating, but everyone you try to connect with dies. So while drones may not win any awards for productivity or longevity, their brief moment of glory ensures the survival of the hive. It's not a glamorous life, but somebody's got to do it. Worker bees are 90% of the workforce, and the ones that do the work, which seems a lot more obvious when I say it out loud. If the queen is royalty, and the drones are expendable bachelors, then worker bees are the unsung heroes of the hive. These are all females who literally do everything to keep the hive running smoothly. From the moment they emerge from their cells, worker bees embark on a whirlwind career path that makes even the busiest humans look like slackers. In the first few days of life, worker bees take on the role of nursemaids. They tend to the larvae, feeding them a steady diet of royal jelly, nectar, or pollen, depending on their future role. Once they've mastered childcare, worker bees graduate to housekeeping. They clean out empty cells to prepare them for the queen's next round of egg laying. This stage of their life is essentially a crash course in sanitation, as they diligently scrub every nook and cranny of the hive. Next, they take on construction duties. Using wax secreted from glands in their abdomens, worker bees build and repair the honeycomb. The hexagonal cells are not only visually stunning, but are also incredibly efficient, maximizing storage space while minimizing material used. Frank Lloyd Wright could never. As if this weren't enough, worker bees also moonlight as security guards. Stationed at the hive's entrance, they fend off intruders like wasps and other honey-thieving creatures. Armed with stingers and a selfless sense of duty, these bees will lay down their lives to protect the hive. But wait, there's more. In their final stage of life, worker bees become foragers. They venture into the world, braving wind, rain, and the occasional hungry bird to collect nectar and pollen. These intrepid adventurers can visit hundreds of flowers in a single day, bringing back the raw materials needed to produce honey and sustain the colony. And they do this all while carrying loads equivalent to their own body weight. Move over, Olympic weightlifters. A single bee can make about 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. Bees need to visit about 2 million flowers to make about a pound of honey. Not exactly Costco efficiency, but we'll take it. Worker bees only live about 6 weeks during the busy season. Their bodies literally wear out from sheer overuse. By the end of their lives, their wings are frayed, their strength depleted, but their contributions to the hive are immeasurable. In short, worker bees are the backbone of the hive, juggling a dozen roles in their short lives without so much as a coffee break. They're proof that sometimes the hardest workers don't get the glory, but they do get the job done. Now let's shift gears a little bit from the individual types of bees and their roles and talk about the dynamic of the hive as a whole. Much like humans who swap out flip-flops for snow boots as the year progresses, honeybee hives go through distinct seasonal phases. Let's take a closer look into how the hive thrives or just barely survives through the changing season. Spring is when the hive wakes up from its winter slumber and collectively says, "All right, people, let's make some honey." The queen kicks it into high gear, laying thousands of eggs to rebuild the population. Worker bees get busy collecting nectar and pollen on the season's floral buffet. This is also the prime time for swarming, a natural process where the old queen and about half of the hive's population pack their bags and leave to start a new colony. Swarming may sound chaotic, but it's actually an impressive display of planning. Scouts venture out and find the perfect real estate, usually a hollow tree or an abandoned attic, and report back with their findings. It's like Zillow for bees, but with a lot more buzzing. Glad to know that bees are not the only species that get angry every so often and threaten to leave half their families to start fresh somewhere else. Summer is all about stockpiling. The hive turns out wax, builds comb, and fills it with honey and pollen reserves. Worker bees are literally working themselves to death, with foragers flying as far as 5 miles to find the best nectar. The hive is a well-oiled machine, running at peak efficiency. It's nature's version of the corporate grind, complete with endless overtime and 0 weekends off. As temperature drops down and flowers dwindle, the hive shifts into conservation mode as fall arrives. The queen lays fewer eggs, and the workers focus on sealing up the hive to keep out drafts. This is also the time when the drones get the boot. That's right, since they don't contribute to winter survival, the worker bees evict them out in a ruthless cost-saving measure. It's like corporate downsizing, but instead of a pink slip, all of the drones get starvation and hypothermia. It's harsh, but it's effective. Winter is when the hive hunkers down, and huddles together for warmth. Literally. The bees form a tight cluster around the queen, vibrating their flight muscles to generate heat. The center of the cluster stays a toasty 90 degrees Fahrenheit, while the outer layers are more like an unheated garage in February. The bees take turns rotating through the cluster, ensuring that everybody gets a chance to get warm. During this time, the hive relies entirely on the honey and pollen reserves collected during the summer. It's a delicate balancing act. Run out of food, and the colony starves. Eat too little, and they'll freeze. Worker bees take on the role of energy accountants, carefully rationing the hive supplies to make sure it makes it through to spring. Like a bee version of a Snowden family, but without the board games. By the time the first flowers bloom, the hive is ready to start the cycle all over again. The workers emerge from their winter cluster, stretch their wings, and dive straight into business of rebuilding the colony. No vacations, no downtime, just an endless cycle of buzzing and bustling. And you thought your 9 to 5 was exhausting. I could easily talk for 8 more hours about honeybees, but this video is long enough, and this is as good of a spot as any to end it. If you're interested in hearing more about this topic or another topic, just put it in the comments and I might make a part 2. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you have not already. It helps me out a lot and it's free to you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Okay everybody, really quick. I've been calling these possums my whole life. Turns out that I've been living a life of lies and ignorance. While researching for this video, I've learned that possums are actually a completely different animal that is native to Australia. Opossums are the little garbage-dwelling, plain dead North American marsupials that I've been calling the wrong name forever. Anyway, my last video was a relative hit, so I wanted to keep the positivity train chugging along by talking about another amazing animal that we all know, but most don't know a lot about, the opossum. Opossums abide by mammal law and enter the world in a pink and hairless state. Life starts small for an opossum, approximately the size of a dime. Though they are small, luckily they are not alone. The typical litter of offspring is 21, but litters as large as 50 have been recorded. Immediately after being birthed onto the cold hard ground, the first big challenge of their amazing life starts. The opossum knows that it's not ready to tackle anything at this size or at this location, but luckily it knows by instinct that warm shelter is near. Almost as soon as the newborn hits the ground, it pulls an Alex Honnold and without climbing gear, makes a dramatic free solo climb to its mother's pouch. Once they are safely inside the pouch, surrounded by their brothers and sisters that they love because family is everything and nothing could break that bond, they will soon encounter their first basic math problem. Turns out the mother opossum has 13 teats available. So what was just a happy family gathering has quickly become a full-blown survival of the fittest mosh pit, just like when your uncle brings up politics at Thanksgiving. But life is good, and that opossum is a survivor. Once a baby opossum latches onto a teat, it will stay there for about 2 months. It's like an all-inclusive resort stay, complete with free room service and 0 responsibilities. After the pouch days, young opossums cling to their mother's back like tiny fuzzy backpacks for another couple of months. Mom becomes a full-time marsupial Uber driver, carting them around while they learn the ropes of being a professional scavenger. You might be wondering where dad is in this picture, but opossum parenting is a one-woman show. The fathers are more of the disappearing after the first date types, leaving the mom to handle the entire chaotic daycare situation alone. A large chunk of baby opossums don't survive the pouch stage. The ones that do face a whole new set of dangers once they venture outside. Predators, the elements, and possibly underestimating the dangers of minivans. Roughly 10% of baby opossums make it to adulthood. It's basically nature's version of a reality survival show. Except instead of getting voted off the island, you might be swooped up and eaten alive by an owl. Living La Vida Loca on your mother's back is hungry work. These little guys are nature's garbage disposals. They'll eat insects, fruits, small animals, eggs, and even the occasional snack from an overturned trash can. If it fits in their mouth, it's dinner. This non-discriminatory diet continues into adulthood, though adults get more adventurous. Their menu expands to include delicacies such as roadkill, proving once again that opossums are the ultimate zero-waste heroes, turning leftovers into survival fuel. Opossums are the ultimate suburban squatters and can be found pretty much anywhere that there's food. Forests, fields, backyards, and the occasional garbage can buffet. They're nature's little freeloaders, equally comfortable in a hollow tree or under your porch. While these little guys may look like America's sweetheart, they are actually one of the most bulletproof, rock-solid animal to ever roam the planet. In the United States alone,
There are over 4,000 animals per year that test positive for rabies, almost none of which are opossums. Much like your grandparents that travel to Florida every winter, rabies don't like to be cold. Possums have a very low body temperature, which makes the chance of them carrying rabies extremely unlikely. As if sidestepping one major disease wasn't enough, opossums are known to snack on the carrier of another major illness, Lyme's disease. Ticks are known to carry Lyme's disease, but this does not stop opossums from treating ticks like Cool Ranch Doritos. One study estimated that at peak season, opossums eat between 5,500 and 6,000 ticks in a single week. If you thought that being able to resist a virus that kills thousands per year was tough, or treating disease-carrying insects like your favorite snack was metal enough, you might want to sit down for this one. Opossums have a natural resistance to snake venom. When a snake bites most mammals, the venom enters the bloodstream, finds a specific protein responsible for clotting, and messes that up, which, long story short, makes you die. Opossum blood is not your average blood. When the venom enters the opossum, it will find that it is not compatible with the protein that it normally interacts with, saving the opossum from a tragic end. While snakes and rabies might not be best friends with opossums, your local dentist loves them, probably. Opossums hold the record for the most teeth of any North American land animal, 50 teeth total. If you don't know teeth stats off the top of your head, adult humans have 32, and your average dog will have 42. So 50 is no joke, and makes gobbling down the trash a breeze. If you know anything about opossums, you probably heard of their Oscar-worthy talent. They are known to play a particularly captivating death scene. When an opossum encounters a threat it does not think that it can beat, they will face this challenge by proceeding to play dead. You might assume this is a cute little 10-minute performance, and you would be wrong. They will take this masterclass in acting to the extreme and keep this performance up for up to several hours. During this performance, the opossums pull out all the bells and whistles. They will lower their breathing and heart rate, roll their tongue out, and expel their bowels, all to look and smell as dead as possible. This act is so convincing that there is actually still debate within the scientific community on if it's voluntary or not. While they are not casually avoiding life-threatening situations or putting on Oscar performances, the life of an opossum is pretty grand. Picture the opossum lifestyle as nocturnal freelancing. These night walkers spend their evenings foraging for food, exploring their territory, and avoiding danger. Daytime, strictly for snoozing, either in a hollow log, an abandoned burrow, or, if they're feeling fancy, somebody's attic. The whole sleeping upside down like Batman thing is actually a myth made popular by cartoons and is not true, although it does look cool. The carefree lifestyle does not dramatically change from season to season. Spring and summer, prime scavenging season. Food is everywhere, the young opossums are busy finding their groove as independent little trash goblins. Fall is all about packing on those pre-winter pounds. It's like an opossum Thanksgiving, but every single night. Unlike some other mammals, opossums do not hibernate in the winter. Opossums stay active, just a little slower and fluffier as they work through their snack stash. Humans have had an impact on how opossums live their life. Humans have provided endless new habitats for opossums like sheds and crawl spaces. Urban expansion has also led to some questionable dining choices, with opossums frequently raiding garbage bins and pet food bowls. When it comes to romance, opossums keep it casual. Mating season is basically speed dating, marsupial edition. One male, multiple partners, minimal emotional investment. Opossums only have about 12 days of pregnancy. It's like the speed running of mammal gestation. That's right, the mom barely has time to start craving weird snacks before the babies are on their way out. A female can have up to 3 litters per year, with about 20 babies per litter. So yes, opossums are kind of like baby making machines. However, due to the pouch size limit, only about 13 babies can truly stick around for the full pouch experience. The life of an opossum is great, but they aren't exactly long-term planners. Most live only about 1 to 2 years in the wild, due to predators and accidents. Captive opossums, however, can live up to 4 years if they're kept safe from domestic hazards. Opossums are not currently endangered. In fact, they're thriving thanks to their adaptability. However, habitat destruction and traffic accidents remain significant threats. They may be resilient, but they're not invincible. Love them or hate them, opossums play a crucial role in our ecosystems. They're pest controllers, cleanup crews, and surprisingly lovable oddballs. The next time you see one waddling through your yard, give them a nod of respect. They've earned it. I hope that this video taught you something that you didn't know about these little trash goblins. I learned a lot researching for it. If you haven't already, make sure to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have an animal you would like me to cover, make sure to put it in the comments below. Anyway, that's all I have. Thanks for watching. I was making a video on another animal, but the people have spoken. Ants are one of the most amazing creatures on the planet. They live pretty much everywhere except for Antarctica. Forest, deserts, your kitchen, and the weird crack in the sidewalk. Scientists estimate that for every human on the planet, there are approximately 2.5 million ants. That comes out to a number that Google tells me is 20 quadrillion. There is evidence of ants roaming the earth for over 100 million years, which means that they've been able to hang out with the dinosaurs and somehow make it through several mass extinctions. Ants can be split into 3 different categories that are the exact same as honeybees: the queen, male drones, and female workers. Which ant takes on which role is more complicated to determine than a great ant sorting hat telling each egg what table to sit at. How each ant comes to be requires a very specific criteria to be met and rules to be followed. Before talking about the specifics, it will be helpful to have an understanding of the basic ant life cycle. The life of all 3 types of ants begins the same as your average chicken, as a small egg. Depending on various factors such as the species of ant, temperature, or humidity, the eggs will hatch between 7 and 14 days after being laid. Hold your horses, because full-blown ants don't erupt from these eggs. The next step on the journey to anthood is the larvae stage. Larvae are essentially little worm-looking things that have no arms or legs, truly a face that only a mother could love. These baby worm sacs are essentially helpless and need to be cared for by either the queen herself if the colony is young, or worker ants if the queen has a large enough colony to delegate the task to. After approximately 6 to 12 days of being helpless, these larvae spin themselves into a cocoon known as a pupae. It is at this stage that the babies start resembling what could be described as an ant, if your vision is poor enough. While the antennas are tight to the bodies, color is pale, and the head is too small, they have taken strides towards resembling their final form. Not much happens during this phase, besides laying low and slowly becoming the ant of their dreams. After about 9 to 30 days, the pupa metamorphosize into full-blown adult ants, ready to start their 9 to 5s and pickleball clubs after work. It's not a career aptitude test that determines the future role of the ant. Unique events that happen throughout what is essentially their childhood determines what type of ant will emerge. It's all about gender, what they eat, and a little chemical wizardry. The most straightforward career path comes down to if the egg is fertilized or not, which happens to determine the gender of the offspring. All unfertilized ant eggs become males. If a male is born, there is only one future career path available. Sorry to all the male ants that wanted to be an astronaut. Male ants, or drones, are born for one reason and one reason only: romance. A very brief and tragic romance, to be precise. Their fate is sealed the moment that they hatch, with their diets and hormones being tuned just right to prepare them for the one moment of glory: mating. Drone ants are smaller than their worker and queen counterparts, and normally can be found within the nest until it's their time to shine. When the timing is right and love is in the air, they will spread their wings and take flight. It is while in flight that they, along with other drones from other colonies, will find a queen ant in flight. Once their mission is complete, the drones generally return to the ground and live in isolation for a short period of time before dying, leaving behind a legacy of being the colony's ultimate one-hit wonder. It is generally believed that the cause of death is sheer exhaustion from fulfilling their singular purpose. Talk about understanding the assignment. When it is all said and done, a drone's lifespan may only be 1 week long, but what they do in that short time is critical for the ongoing survival of their species. So that pretty much covers the unfertilized eggs that become male drones. Fertilized eggs, on the other hand, will always become females, and females have it a bit more complicated and can fall into one of 2 career buckets. Worker ants are basically your default setting in an ant colony. As the saying goes, you are what you eat, and whether you become a worker ant or a queen ant all comes down to your diet. If you are born and not given the VIP diet of high-protein royal jelly, congratulations, you're a worker now. Your meals consist of a bland, carbohydrate-heavy diet that screams cubicle life. Worker ants are the backbone of the colony, and their job description is basically everything. Their future involves tireless crumb carrying, tunnel digging, and an utter lack of personal ambition. Ants can carry up to 50 times their own body weight, making them the ultimate gym bro. For comparison, this would be the equivalent of a 200-pound human being able to lift 10,000 pounds, all without supplements. While on the hunt for food, Worker ants use pheromones to leave scent trails and alert the colony of food sources or dangers. Worker ants also take care of the queen's eggs, build and maintain the nest, and occasionally wage war against other colonies. Worker ants can live up to about a year, and during this time they never get a day off and don't even get to complain about it. Maybe some of the workers should have made an HR department. Becoming a queen ant is like winning the genetic lottery. If you're fed enough protein-rich royal jelly and the colony decides you're worthy, you get to live the dream. Raised in luxury from larva to adulthood, these lucky few are groomed with special nutrients and pheromones that set them apart from the commoners. Just because she is born into royalty doesn't mean that she is without responsibilities. During what is known as her nuptial flight, she will collect enough sperm to last for the rest of her life, so she only needs to mate once. The queen can live anywhere from 10 to 15 years, making this exchange one of nature's most efficient meet and greets. Once she is back on ground, the majority of her duties involve reproduction. She's an egg-laying machine with 0 days off. Her job is simple: ensure the survival of the colony by constantly producing new ants. During her life, the queen is able to lay hundreds of thousands of eggs, which is a lot of children's birthdays to remember if you think about it. Unlike honeybees, ant colonies often will have more than one queen active at a time. This allows the colony to have an increased amount of genetic diversity and also lay more eggs. When new queens are raised, they simply take off for their nuptial flight, partake in the drone meet and greet, and find an area to start a new colony. No mutiny required. While the queen-to-queen relationship is pretty friendly, that doesn't mean that some ants don't want to watch the world burn. Ants are known to partake in warfare with their neighbors for resources such as food or territory. Rival colonies often engage in full-scale battles, complete with tactical formations and specialized soldier ants. During these conflicts, some species even take the other colony's young as captives, forcing them into labor. It's like Game of Thrones, but with more legs. Just because some ants thirst for blood doesn't mean that every ant is a war-hungry insect. Some ants prefer to go the Stardew Valley route. That's right, some ants prefer the simple life, and rather than blood and war, have decided livestock farming is more their pace. Aphids are tiny little insects that secrete a sweet substance from their abdomen that ants can't get enough of. Aphid farming ants have created a symbiotic relationship with these little mini cows. In exchange for their sweet gut juice, the ants will herd aphids together on plants they feed on, protect them against predators such as ladybugs, and allow aphids to store their eggs in the ant colony nest over the winter, and return those eggs back to their preferred plants once spring comes around. Ants are not limited to only one type of farmer. They value farmer diversity, and in addition to raising livestock, are known to manage crops as well. Leafcutter ants are the crop farmers of the ant world. These ants spend their days searching for vegetation that they will cut down and bring back to the colony. Once inside, they will use the vegetation to cultivate fungus gardens that the ants will use as a sustainable food source. This gardening is incredibly advanced. Just like humans need to make sure they don't confuse portobellos with death caps, not all fungus is edible to the ants, and some have potential to devastate the colonies. Luckily for them, ants have developed mechanisms to recognize and control the growth of non-desirable fungus. Since we're on the topic of not cool fungus, part of the ant world experiences a real-life The Last of Us situation. I'm not even going to try to say this word. This fungus thrives in warm tropical environments. Ants are exposed to this fungus when walking on the ground between trees. Spores of the fungus attach to the ant's exoskeleton and slowly make their way into the ant's insides. Once the ant has been infected, it starts to display unusual zombie-like behavior, including full-body convulsions. These convulsions will often lead to the tree-dwelling ants to fall to the ground, but don't worry, they don't die yet. Ants will climb up onto shorter vegetation and death grip onto their stalks, before letting the fungus fully take over their body and ending the ant's life. After the ant is passed on to ant heaven, the fungus will continue to grow. Mycelia will sprout out of the ant carcass in order to further secure the fungus to the location it is at. When the fungus is ready to reproduce, what is known as a fruiting body, which honestly just sounds gross, will emerge from the ant and release spores into the surrounding area. Nature loves a good horror story. Ant nests are the epitome of efficiency. They come in all shapes and sizes, from simple underground tunnels to elaborate structures rivaling human cities. The average nest can house anywhere from a few hundred to several million ants, depending on the species. Some colonies have been known to persist for decades, handed down through generations like a family heirloom nobody asked for. In terms of size, nests can cover a few square feet for smaller species, while some super colonies can stretch over several acres. Fire ants, for example, can form sprawling underground networks spanning vast areas. As for depth, nests can extend anywhere from a few inches below the surface to over 25 feet deep in some cases. Inside the nest, there's a place for everything. Nursery chambers house the precious eggs and larvae, guarded by dedicated worker ants. Storage rooms hold carefully stashed food supplies. Think of them as tiny pantries stocked with crumbs and bug bits. Then there are waste disposal areas, because even ants know better than to live in filth. The queen gets her own royal chamber where she reigns supreme, laying eggs and barking orders, probably. During the winter, many ant species hunker down into their nests, entering a state of dormancy. They cluster together to conserve warmth and rely on stored food supplies to survive colder months. Essentially, it's a six-legged slumber party that lasts the entire winter. Building these intricate structures takes serious teamwork. Some ants dig with their mandibles, while others carry soil away, and a select few just stand around, probably supervising. The tunnels are carefully designed to allow airflow, regulate temperature, and provide easy access to food sources. It's like an underground subway system, but with fewer delays. Despite their impeccable construction, nests don't last forever. Some species relocate frequently, while others will maintain their colony for years. And when the colony gets too big, a swarm of ants sets out to find new real estate, because even ants have to deal with this housing crisis. Ants are amazing animals, and I'm glad that you all suggested that I make a video on them. I hope this video taught you something you didn't know about ants. I learned a lot in the process of making the video. Let me know if there's any other animal that you want me to make a video on in the comments below. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like so that you can see more videos like this one. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. I just found out that YouTube has an inspiration tab where AI tells you what the best idea for your next video is so that you don't need to use your brain. And since I'm not about to question our soon-to-be robot overlords, I figured I should listen. Like all other insects, the life of a praying mantis starts cold, moist, and in a personal egg prison cell. Luckily, they don't enter their lives of non-stop devotional hand signs alone. This egg is one of many eggs wrapped in what is disgustingly known as an egg case. This egg case will contain anywhere between 100 and 400 eggs, which honestly makes me lose all patience for chickens complaining that one egg a day is a lot to manage. Several factors can affect how long life inside the egg can last, such as temperature and humidity, but typically the praying mantis will emerge after approximately 2 to 6 weeks. Those that emerge should consider themselves lucky, because only about 150 of these eggs will have offspring emerge. You may be looking at this and thinking that you've lost your marbles, because this does not look like any praying mantis that you've ever seen, and you just saw the thumbnail. And you would be right for thinking this. What emerges from this egg is known as a nymph, which are just the adolescents of the praying mantis world. For this optimistic young nymph, the sun is shining and life is grand, but it is soon going to get hit with the bleak knowledge that only an estimated 5 to 10% of nymphs will reach adulthood. There are 3 main reasons for this. First, nymphs are delicious, and that recently hatched egg case is essentially the open sign on the all-you-can-eat buffet of the animal kingdom. Birds and other insects such as wasps have a particularly strong craving for fresh nymph. Second, for the nymphs that do manage to dodge becoming a snack, finding a snack of their own can prove to be a sizable challenge. The nymphs that emerge from the eggs are only about 5 millimeters tall, which you can imagine makes the nearby food that is only a step away for you become a very large distance to cover for the nymph. Lastly, nymphs would be advised against trusting their newfound family. Some of the larger nymphs to emerge realize that the closest food source is not the McDonald's down the road, but their smaller siblings that they have been surrounded by. To be fair, I'm sure the ice cream machine was broken and it wasn't going to be worth the walk anyway. Similar to teenage years for humans, the nymph stage for a praying mantis is a time full of awkward body changes, learning new things about yourself, and non-stop eating without needing to worry about gaining weight. Progress through the nymph stage is best categorized in terms of molts. A nymph will molt 5 to 10 times over the course of several months on the way to adulthood. During a molt, the nymph sheds its exoskeleton and emerges slightly larger, slightly taller, and slightly closer to looking like a full-blown adult praying mantis. All this growing requires a steady stream of calories. Nymphs will spend the majority of their days filling their creepy little faces with a large variety of things that have no business being anywhere near the word food. Flies, mosquitoes, moths, crickets, grasshoppers, and aphids are all common meals on the dinner menu, and you thought that pot roast was disgusting. When a nymph goes through its final molt, it is officially an adult praying mantis. Rather than celebrating this achievement with a graduation party in their parents' garage, the adult praying mantis will emerge from the final molt with a set of brand new, fully developed wings. The wings come out of the box relatively flaccid, but luckily, they come with an instruction manual. For several hours, the praying mantis will stretch and pump these soft wings in the air, and over time, they will dry and harden. Once hard, they're ready for use. The praying mantis will leave the constraints of solid ground and take to the sky. Once the nymphs reach adulthood, it's all sunshine and rainbows. If sunshine and rainbows means a lot of eating and questionable mating decisions. Reproduction for a praying mantis is way more interesting than it has any right being, and there are two routes that the species utilizes. The first of these two routes is relatively traditional. Once ready to mate, a male praying mantis will spend his days searching for a female. Since praying mantis Tinder is only in its beta release, this is easier said than done. When he finally finds a potential mate, it is not as straightforward as walking up to her and asking her if she's interested in grabbing a coffee to compare their interests and financial goals. The male needs to take great care and approach the female with extreme caution. During this approach, the male needs to perform a mating ritual in an insane effort to not anger the female that at any moment can decide she is not interested and attack or eat the approaching male. The mating ritual being conducted by the approaching male is a well thought out masterpiece. During the approach, the male will move his antenna in a specific way that makes it clear to the female what his intentions are, which is kind of nice, but also, they just met. In addition to the antenna sign language, the male emits pheromones, which are essentially the bug version of cologne, making it extra clear that this male is looking for more than to just be friends. If the female decides that this guy is someone she is willing to mate with, mating is what they do. Once they're done with the task, the female has a pretty important decision she needs to make. Does she A. let this guy go and live his life, or B. kill and consume the male that she just mated with? We have 5 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. Okay, you're gonna need to make a decision. And it looks like she went with... It is a common misconception that the female praying mantis will eat every male after she mates, but it does happen from time to time, and I guess that's just a risk that the males need to be willing to take. If that isn't good birth control for young male praying mantises, I don't know what is. Praying mantis have another route that they can take to reproduce that is much more unique and way less traditional. Female praying mantises are also able to reproduce using a process known as parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis is a type of reproduction where an unfertilized egg becomes an embryo. Put simply, this means that a female can turn any of her eggs into a baby praying mantis without any involvement from a male. Since there is no other input of genes in parthenogenesis, the babies that emerge are essentially genetic clones of the mother mantis, rather than what would be typically thought of as offspring. Regardless of what route the female mantis chooses, it normally takes about 2 weeks until she is ready to lay the eggs. Once the egg case is laid, the mother's work is done, and she will have no further involvement with protecting, mentoring, or even calling any of her offspring. That is one way to save money on childcare. Female praying mantises will mate and produce egg cases multiple times throughout their lives, meaning a single female has the potential of laying thousands of eggs. Multiple mating sessions is also possible for males, obviously contingent on if they aren't killed after their meet and greets. When they aren't partaking in the world's weirdest mating rituals, praying mantis can generally be found wandering around and eating the same insect diet that they grew to love in their nymph days. There are about 1,500 different species of praying mantis, and the majority of them can be found in tropical environments. Just because they can be found all over the place does not mean that you are going to see them all over the place. Praying mantis is a master of disguise. Their anatomy and various shades of color allow them to easily blend in with grasses, twigs, and other surroundings. Sneaking up on a praying mantis is not an easy task. They are the only insect that is able to tilt their head to 180 degrees. 2 giant beady compound eyes allow the praying mantis to view the world with panoramic vision and with excellent depth perception. The life of a praying mantis in most instances takes place over a single year. They will emerge from their eggs early in the spring, grow to adults throughout the summer, mate and lay eggs in early fall, and by the time winter comes around, they will be near the end of their time. The first hard frost is typically enough to send them to praying mantis heaven. Luckily, The egg sacs mentioned earlier come with nature's version of a heated blanket. The egg sacs protect the eggs inside from the outside elements and ensure that the species will survive to spring, where the cycle can continue again. The praying mantis is an amazing animal, and I hope I was able to teach you something about them that you did not know prior to this video. I learned a lot while making it. If you're new to the channel, I would appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. It's free to you and it helps me out a lot. Let me know in the comments below if there's a particular animal that you'd like me to make a video about. I read every comment and I take every idea into consideration. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Capybaras enter the world already thriving more than their mammal peers. Rather than being pink, slimy, hairless, capybaras are born as miniature versions of their adult selves. Full fur coat, teeth that would make Chip Skylark proud, and eyes wide open, a newborn capybara is ready to hit the ground running. Literally. They're so well prepared for life that within hours of birth, they're already walking, swimming, and what appears to be judging with their calm, unbothered expressions. While most newborn mammals spend their first few weeks helplessly flailing around, relying on parents for everything, capybara babies are up and at 'em almost immediately. They pop out weighing about 3 to 4 pounds, which is already heavier than some teacup dog breeds and significantly more cute. Luckily for their mothers, parenting is a team sport in the capybara world. Other females in the group, regardless of whether they're related, will help babysit, feed, and generally assist in raising the little fuzzballs. It's essentially an all-inclusive childcare package, but way less expensive than traditional daycare. The teeth mentioned earlier are not just for good looks. Those impressive, ever-growing incisors are already in place at birth, ready to start their lifelong mission of chewing through anything and everything in sight. These little grass goblins will start nibbling on solid food within a week, though they'll still nurse for about 3 to 4 months. But by then, they'll already be well on their way to mastering the art of lounging, swimming, and becoming the undisputed chillest animal on the planet. Growing up as a capybara is less of a struggle for survival and more of a gradual journey into the fine art of relaxation. By the time a young capybara reaches a few weeks old, it's already mastered the essential skills of swimming, grazing, and perfecting the 1,000-yard stare of someone who has truly transcended stress. Unlike many other animals that have to fight tooth and nail, sometimes literally, to reach adulthood, capybaras grow up in the safety of their herd, surrounded by siblings, laid-back parents, and a community of aunties willing to babysit at a moment's notice. Their growth is steady, reaching about 40 pounds by the time they're 6 months old. By 1 year, they're roughly 2/3 of their full adult size, which means they've transformed from a large guinea pig into a small aquatic sofa cushion. At full maturity, around 18 months to 2 years old, a capybara tips the scale at about 75 to 150 pounds, making them the undisputed heavyweight champions of the rodent world. Capybaras actually hold the title for world's largest rodent, which doesn't really do them any justice for them being so universally loved. Throughout their journey to adulthood, young capybaras spend their days refining their two greatest talents, eating and floating. Since they're semi-aquatic creatures, their ability to swim only improves with age. They quickly learn that water is the best defense against predators, a natural playground, and the perfect spot for a lazy afternoon soak. While other animals are out there fighting for dominance, capybaras are busy bobbing in a pond like overgrown bath toys, completely unbothered by the chaos of the natural world. By the time they reach full maturity, capybaras have cemented their place in the social hierarchy, that place being that they're chill no matter where they stand. Unlike many other species that engage in brutal power struggles, capybaras live in a relatively harmonious group, relying on their easygoing nature and impressive social skills to maintain order. The biggest drama that they face is the occasional leadership swap within the herd, but even that is settled with minimal fuss, usually through some light posturing and a few well-timed grunts. Capybaras are essentially nature's most adorable lawnmower, spending the majority of their day chomping down on whatever greenery they can find. Their diet consists of mostly grasses, aquatic plants, and the occasional fruit if they're feeling fancy. And when I say that they eat a lot, I mean a lot. These hefty rodents put away about 6 to 8 pounds of food per day, which is basically like a human eating 50 heads of lettuce every single day. Their teeth, which never stop growing, are perfectly designed to grind through tough vegetation, meaning that they can power through dense meals without having to worry about dental bills. But here's where things get a little bit weird. Capybaras, in all their chill, unbothered glory, have an interesting dietary habit that makes you consider just how cute they really are. They practice coprophagy, which is a fancy scientific way of saying that they eat their own droppings. Now before you gag, there's a method to this madness. It helps them digest tough plant fibers more efficiently by giving their gut bacteria a second shot at breaking down the nutrients.
Essentially, it's nature's version of a second helping, just way less appetizing. Capybaras have to stay near water sources, not just for hydration, but also for their beloved aquatic plants. They'll happily wade into rivers and marshes to snack on floating greens, proving once again that they are the peak relaxation creatures. Honestly, their entire existence is just one long spa day with a side of grass. If there's one thing that capybaras hate, it's being alone. These oversized guinea pigs are the ultimate extroverts of the animal kingdom, rolling deep in social groups that typically range from 10 to 20 individuals, but can balloon up to over 100 during the dry seasons. They thrive on companionship, and their herds consist of a mix of dominant males, a harem of females, their young, and a few subordinate males who have basically accepted their role as background characters. Within these groups, capybaras display an impressive level of social cooperation. They communicate with an array of purrs, barks, whistles, and even happy guinea pig squeaks. These sounds help them keep track of each other, warn the group of potential dangers, or just casually check in. Like, hey, is that leaf good? Cool, I'll eat it too. Their constant chattering makes them feel less like wild animals and more like a group of friends gossiping over brunch. Their group structure isn't just for fun though, it's crucial for survival. More eyes means better chance of spotting predators before it's too late. If danger strikes, capybaras have a simple but effective escape plan. Alert the others and run like crazy towards the nearest body of water and disappear beneath the surface. They're basically the Houdinis of the rodent world, slipping away from danger while their confused pursuers wonder where their lunch just went. The capybara's claim to fame isn't that they just get along with their own kind, they get along with pretty much everyone. These laid-back rodents have an almost mythical ability to befriend just about any species. Birds perch on them, turtles sunbathe beside them, and even predators like crocodiles have been spotted chilling in close proximity, seemingly respecting the capybara's untouchable level of zen. If animals had social media, capybaras would be the influencers with millions of followers, effortlessly networking across species without even really trying. When it comes to dating, capybaras keep things pretty simple. Find water, impress a lady, and try not to get rejected in front of the whole group. Unlike some dramatic courtship rituals in the animal kingdom, capybara romance is a relatively chill affair. Mating season usually coincides with the rainy season, when food is plentiful and the environment is just humid enough to get things a little bit steamy. Literally. Female capybaras call the shots in the dating game, and their biggest requirement? You gotta be willing to swim for love. That's right, capybaras mate exclusively in the water. If a male tries to get things going on land, the female simply walks away. But if she's interested, into the water they go, where their romance unfolds in the most laid-back aquatic love story ever. Males don't have it easy though. The dominant male of the group, usually the biggest and the brawniest, gets first dibs on the available ladies, while the lower-ranking males either have to wait their turn or sneak around when the boss isn't looking. Of course, if a younger, stronger male manages to challenge and dethrone the resigning alpha, he takes over the entire harem. It's basically an ongoing soap opera where the stakes are leadership, territory, and capybara admiration. Once the female is pregnant, she carries the little loaf-shaped babies for approximately 150 days before giving birth to a litter of anywhere from 2 to 8 pups. And just like everything else in capybara society, motherhood is a team effort. Other females in the group will help care for the young, nursing any pup that needs a snack, whether it's theirs or not. Capybaras believe in the philosophy of, it takes a village, or in this case, it takes a herd, to raise the next generation. In the wild, capybaras have an average lifespan of around 6 to 10 years, which is pretty solid for a giant rodent constantly being eyed up as a snack. In captivity, however, where they don't have to worry about lurking predators or running out of their favorite grass buffet, they can live up to 12 years or more. It turns out that similar to diet and exercise, removing the daily threat of becoming lunch does wonders for longevity. So what exactly is out there trying to cut capybara's retirement plan short? The answer is basically everything with sharp teeth. Jaguars, anacondas, alligators, pumas, and even large birds of prey all have capybara on the menu. Being a 100-pound, slow-moving loaf with a friendly attitude makes them a prime target for anything hungry enough to take on the challenge. This is why capybaras never stray far from the water. If danger strikes, they'll make a break for it and dive in, using their impressive swimming skills to escape. If all else fails, they can hold their breath for up to 5 minutes and hide underwater like a whiskered submarine, waiting for the coast to clear. But it's not just predators that take capybaras out. Sometimes nature itself decides it's time to cash in.
Disease, parasites, and injuries can all spell trouble, especially for older capybaras. And then, of course, there's the occasional unfortunate run-in with humans. Whether it's through habitat destruction, hunting, or the odd car accident when a capybara decides to waddle across the road at the wrong time. Despite these challenges, capybaras have managed to not only survive, but to thrive. They're highly adaptable, their populations are stable, and their cool with everyone attitude means that they tend to get along just fine, even in areas with human activity. In the end, whether they live a full decade or become an anaconda's afternoon snack, capybaras live life on their own terms, munching, lounging, and making friends with everything in sight. Capybaras have had a recent rise in internet popularity, which made this video a blast to research and make. I hope that I was able to teach you something that you did not know prior to this video. I learned a lot making it. I made this video because a viewer suggested it in the comments of a previous animal that I covered. So if there's any animal that you'd like to see a video on, let me know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. That's all I got. Thanks for watching.
Imagine a hippo, but make it fun-sized. A pocket-sized tank, a bite-sized battle pig. This is the Pygmy hippopotamus, the lesser-known cousin of the regular hippo, that frankly deserves way more attention. It's got all the chonk, all the attitude, but in a slightly more manageable, less, I might want to destroy your boat for fun kind of way. While regular hippos are out there terrorizing rivers and ranking amongst the deadliest animals in Africa, Pygmy hippos are mostly just vibing and minding their own business. But don't be fooled by their smaller size. They still have plenty of weird, wonderful, and slightly disturbing traits that make them one of nature's strangest little members. So let's get into it. If you thought a regular baby hippo was already peak levels of adorable, prepare yourselves, because Pygmy hippo calves take all of that cuteness and condense it into a 10 to 14 pound, barrel-shaped nugget of joy. Unlike their full-sized, chaos-spreading relatives, Pygmy hippos are a little bit more low-key, and that includes the way that they enter the world. Instead of being born into the bustling social chaos of a river full of drama, Pygmy hippos are born in a much more peaceful, hidden environment, often deep within the forests of West Africa. Newborn Pygmy hippos come into the world looking like a walking water balloon with legs. Their skin is a dark, slick shade of grayish brown. This skin comes already equipped with all of the same water-repelling properties as their parents' skin, which is fortunate because if you spend half of your life in the water, you don't want to turn into a giant prune. While regular hippos give birth underwater, most Pygmy hippos tend to keep the birth on land, although some mothers still opt for a semi-aquatic birth. Either way, within minutes of being born, the baby is up and wobbling around, ready to figure out how to exist in a world where everything is already way too big for them. For the first few weeks, baby Pygmy hippos are stage 5 clingers, staying close to their mothers at all times. Mom's milk is the favorite meal of the newborn for several months, which makes that clinger behavior kind of like being way too obsessed with a favorite food truck. Pygmy hippos don't form large social groups like regular animals, so normally it's just the mom and the baby against the world. And while their big hippo counterparts are known for their aggressive, territorial personalities, like the loud cousins at a family get-together, Pygmy hippo moms are much more relaxed. That being said, if anyone tries to mess with their baby, they can still throw down. Growing up as a Pygmy hippo means mastering a fine balance between looking adorable and being a mini tank. In their first few months, baby Pygmy hippos do what all good babies do: eat, sleep, and waddle around like confused jelly beans. Despite their chunky appearance, they're surprisingly agile and start exploring their surroundings almost immediately. Within a couple of weeks, they're already practicing their swimming skills, paddling around like buoyant potatoes. They refine these skills by relying on their moms to show them the ropes of being a proper semi-aquatic chonk. Unlike regular hippos, which have a whole squad to raise their young, Pygmy hippos grow up in a more introverted lifestyle. Mom is their main and typically only role model, teaching them where to find the best snacks, how to navigate the dense forest of West Africa, and most importantly, how to avoid getting eaten. Looking like the world's cutest walking loaves of bread, Pygmy hippos are unfortunately on the menu for predators like leopards, crocodiles, and even large pythons. By the time that they're about 6 months old, young Pygmy hippos are already mini versions of adults, fully capable of foraging on their own and honing in their survival instincts. They'll stay with their mom for about 2 to 3 years before heading out on their own, embracing the solitary lifestyle that defines most of their species. While their big hippo relatives thrive in groups, Pygmy hippos prefer the quiet life, spending most of their time alone unless it's mating season. When it comes to love, Pygmy hippos take a rather straightforward approach. None of the dramatic river battles or ear-flapping dominance displays that their larger cousins are known for. Instead, these introverted little water balloons keep things low-key. Since they live mostly solitary lives, the only time they really seek another hippo is when it's time to find a mate. And even then, it's more of a casual, meet up, do the deed, and go our separate ways kind of arrangement. They don't even exchange phone numbers. Female pygmy hippos reach maturity at around 3 to 5 years old, at which point they start emitting subtle chemical signals that let eligible bachelors in the area know that they're open for business, sort of like hippo perfume. Males will catch these scents and set out on a quest to find their potential mate. This typically involves wandering through dense forests, following their nose like awkward, damp bloodhounds until they stumble upon a willing female, which is kind of romantic in a hippo sort of way. The actual courtship process is, well, brief. There's no grand display, no flowers or serenades, they don't even get dinner beforehand. Just two hippos acknowledging that nature says it's its time to continue the species. In true aquatic fashion, mating often happens in the water, with lots of splashing, some impressive grunting, and probably an existential crisis or two. Once the act is complete, the two go their separate ways, with the female left to handle the pregnancy and child rearing all on her own. The male, he's off to continue a mostly solitary lifestyle, likely vibing in a swamp somewhere without a care in the world. Probably not going to win World's Best Dad anytime soon. After about 6 to 7 months of pregnancy, the cycle begins again, and another tiny, squishy hippo nugget enters the world. Unlike many mammals that give birth in litters, pygmy hippos almost always have just one baby at a time. Twins are incredibly rare, making the newborn even more precious. And since they reproduce at a slower rate than regular hippos, typically giving birth every 2 years or so, their population grows at a much more gradual pace, which makes conservation efforts even more critical. When it comes to food, pygmy hippos have simple taste and go full vegetarian mode. They are herbivores with a diet that's made up entirely of plants. While they might not be out there hunting down prey like a lion, their eating habits are still interesting and reveal a lot about how they've adapted to their unique environment. Pygmy hippos mostly munch on vegetarian food found in the dense forests of Western Africa. Their diet consists of a variety of leaves, fruits, grasses, and aquatic plants. Basically anything that you'd find in the vegetarian section of a menu. They'll spend their days wandering through the undergrowth, munching on whatever tasty greens they can find. They especially seem to have a thing for tender shoots of plants and lush vegetation that thrives in their humid, tropical habitat. They've got strong, sharp teeth designed for cutting through tough foliage and grabbing those delicious leafy treats. Pygmy hippos also love fruits that grow in their environment. Bananas, mangoes, and other tropical fruits are a big part of their diet, and they'll eat whatever falls within reach. When they can find them, they'll indulge in aquatic plants like water lilies, which are particularly abundant in the pools, streams, and marshes that they call home. Interestingly, pygmy hippos do a lot of their eating during the night. Like many creatures of the forest, they're nocturnal, which means they've evolved to avoid the heat of day and do most of their foraging when the temperature cools down. As night falls, they venture out from their hiding places where they've spent most of the day resting and begin to browse for food. The nocturnal foraging behavior helps them conserve energy and avoid the predators that might be more active during the day. Like a seasoned food critic, pygmy hippos are very picky not only about what they eat, but also about where they eat. Unlike their larger relatives who might simply wade in the river and graze in the shallows, pygmy hippos prefer to dine in secluded, exclusive, quiet areas away from other animals. Less Buffalo Wild Wings and more Michelin star dining. One of the interesting things about their diet is that pygmy hippos are thought to be relatively low maintenance eaters. They don't require a huge quantity of food to survive. Given their small size, they can make do with fewer calories, which is ideal for the less abundant, more temperate forest environments that they inhabit. This helps them thrive in areas where food might not be as plentiful as in the more open and grassy landscapes where regular hippos live. Just like bears that hibernate or birds that fly south for the winter, pygmy hippos' behavior changes with the season. During the rainy season, when the forests are lush and the streams are flowing, pygmy hippos tend to be a little bit more active. The wetter weather means more food sources, and they'll spend their time enjoying the abundance of tasty, tender shoots and aquatic plants. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet for pygmy hippos. The wetter, cooler conditions also make it easier for them to stay hydrated and cool, which is ideal since they live in a hot, tropical climate. On the flip side, during the dry season, food becomes more scarce. The dense forests and marsh dry up a bit, making it more difficult to find their favorite snacks. During this time, pygmy hippos tend to slow down a bit, They won't be running any marathons or breaking any speed records, but they'll still be quietly roaming around, looking for whatever they can find. In the wild, pygmy hippos typically live around 35 to 50 years. Yep, that's right, they're in it for the long haul. And they keep on keeping on in their quiet, solitary forest life for several decades. They're basically the tortoise of the hippo world, but with a lot more water and less shell. That's a pretty good run for a creature that spends its days eating fruit, swimming, and minding its own business. Unfortunately, like all good things, pygmy hippos don't last forever, and eventually need to waddle their way into pygmy heaven. While they're not exactly at risk of meeting a sad end from their own bad decisions, no wild hippo brawls or high speed car chases here. Their lives are usually cut short by natural predators or by illness. Leopards, crocodiles, and even large pythons, who clearly have no concept of personal space, are known to pose as a threat to these little guys. But don't go imagining a gang of predators waiting around the corner for lunch. Pygmy hippos are pretty stealthy and good at hiding, which means they've got some decent odds of avoiding trouble most of the time. In zoos or protected habitats, pygmy hippos are lucky enough to enjoy a long, peaceful life free of predators. Here, their biggest threats tend to come from age-related health issues or just the sheer fragility of their small, compact bodies. Sadly, their slow reproductive rate, one baby every 2 years or so, doesn't help much with their conservation numbers, which means protecting them is even more important. So while we don't get to see them last forever, we can at least take comfort in the fact that these little guys get a solid run, spending their years snacking on bananas, waddling around the forest, and just generally being adorable. The pygmy hippo's final act? Probably something low-key, like slipping quietly into the water one last time, or lounging in a sun-dappled patch of forest. Nothing dramatic, just another day in the life of the world's cutest introvert in the animal kingdom. Pygmy hippos have had a recent rise in internet popularity, which made this video a blast to research and make. I hope I was able to teach you something that you didn't know prior to this video. I learned a lot while making it. I made this video because a viewer suggested it in the comments of a previous animal that I covered. So if there's an animal that you'd like to see a video on, let me know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. That's all I got. Thanks for watching.